celebrate Sid Block's life. And there are books around the gallery for any of you to share any of your thoughts about Sid, and they will be with Bob for a very long time. Anyway, Bob.
First of all, I want to thank Jean Albano very much. I was not going to do this evening. She insisted today would have been Sidney's 92nd birthday. And for those that remember it, we had 12 years ago today, we had the exquisite snake here. 2 years ago, we had Sid's 90th birthday here. And today we had the celebration of his life. I want to say a couple of other thank yous. One is to Dr. Jim Tonsgaard of Hyde Park for his guidance, counsel, and friendship during the last few weeks of Sidney's life. And to my close friends, Eric Johnson and Delphine Bilski, who have always been there for me. Lastly, I want to thank my friends Sandy and Bob Morgan from the Rembrandt Chamber Players, who took time out of their busy lives to play for us this afternoon. Since Sid's passing, I've been inundated with flowers, chocolates, and baked goods. Please don't do that again. If you want to do something, I would ask that in memory of Sidney and Hannah, make a donation to the Rembrandt Chamber Players. It was an ensemble that Sidney and Hannah were very fond of. There's information here. I have information at the gallery. That would be terrific.
We have little books too.
There's more books there too. What are the odds that a chance meeting at CMO Graphics in 1969 would lead to a 46-year friendship and to this moment in time? As a budding photographer, I rented the darkroom space at CMO Graphics. I didn't have space in my apartment to set up one. The first day coming out of the darkroom, there was this dapper-looking gentleman who worked there. He asked if he could see my photos, what I was doing, and we started talking about a little about photography, but more importantly, there was classical music playing over the office intercom. And we started talking about music and composers. I did this several times a week. And eventually, I looked more forward to these visits than working in the darkroom. Our paths crossed again at the symphony where he introduced me to Hannah. In the next few years, I was an occasional dinner guest at their home in Highland Park. Spending time with them was always special. In August of 1973, they left on a 3-week trip for Eastern Europe, Yugoslavia, and Italy. And when they returned, they would be living at 247 Chestnut. The move from Highland Park to their condominium would be made during those 3 weeks. That same year, I traveled to Germany to visit a college friend, then to Zurich, and a few days, and then to Venice. When you're 26 years old, Europe can be pretty lonely if you're traveling by yourself. My second day in Venice, I met Sid and Hannah by the tower in St. Mark's Square. I almost cried. The next 3 days were spent together. It's a divine blur at this point. We went to Murano for glass blowing. We traced to the Doge's Palace. We visited the Guggenheim Museum of the Grand Canal. And one wonderful meal after the next. Then we took a train to Rome and spent a few days there together. I was so young and naive. They were the most amazing travel companions. Shortly after returning, they were anxious for me to come over and show me their new condominium. Hannah was cooking in the kitchen, and Sid and I were in the den at the piano playing duets. We were terrible. The wrong notes far outnumbered the right ones. And finally, Hannah came into the den and said, "Let me know when you're done." And she shut the door. During the rest of the 70s, we took many trips, several to London and Paris, as well as Boston and New York with the Museum of Contemporary Art. We liked London so much that Sidney Hanna suggested we open a business there, a little art gallery. But it proved way too expensive. So we decided to do it here with Hannah's urging and support. I phoned my father about my plan. He was horrified. Dad had a hardware store back home and ran a small manufacturing company. And I can still hear his words, never go into business with anybody else. Business partnerships have never worked, and they never will. So Dad and Mom flew to Chicago to meet Sid and Hannah, and after a couple of meals and a couple of conversations, Dad came up to me and he said, "You really did the right thing." Somehow our families became joined at that time. We were a unique combination, Jewish and Mennonite. The 80s and 90s saw more trips to Europe. We even traveled around the country to hear Wagner's Ring cycle many times. New York, San Francisco, Seattle. Sidney loved to say he was a ringhead. Hannah rolled her eyes every time he said this. I never tired of their company. When Hannah passed away in 2006, it was the worst day of our lives. Part of Sidney died that day. He was never quite the same. Hannah was one of the most amazing and extraordinary individuals. And anyone who had the privilege to meet her, and I'm sure there are many of you here, know exactly what I mean. We talked seriously about closing the gallery at that time, but changed our minds. Sid said it really gave shape to his day, meaning to his life, and a reason to get up every morning. He also loved talking with old friends, making new ones. And the people that we continued to meet was far more satisfying than any financial compensation United made. We sat across from each other less than 4 feet away for 35 years. There isn't a married couple on earth that performed that. And the times we got crossed with each other in that 35 years, I can count on one hand. I will truly miss him. Sidney was always proud to say his birthday was with Beethoven and Jane Austen, just today. And people always said to me, "Wow, he's in good company." And I would correct them and say, "No, they were in good company." I've listened to all of Beethoven. I've read most of Jane Austen. I know I'm prejudiced, but Sid was the best of the 3. Then Sidney passed away shortly after 12 noon on Thanksgiving Eve. I spent the last 4 hours alone by his bed, talking to him and holding him. He knew I was there. The doctor said hearing is the last thing to go. Since he died, I have received countless emails and sympathy cards from around the world. I think Hallmark's stock has gone up 10%. I want to take the time to read 2 of them. If I read all of them to you, we'd be here till spring. Here's the first one. Dear Bob, I'm so deeply sorry for your loss. The first visit I ever made to Printworks some years ago, it was just Sidney manning the gallery, seated in his usual chair, bird-like legs neatly crossed, dressed in a gentlemanlike fashion, and with the most beautiful smile I've ever seen. You know better than I, but he seemed to be the sweetest man. How wonderful that you two, and 3 of you when Hannah was living, had such a staunch and loyal friendship. And what a gift to have your work defined and sustained by that friendship. It was truly a privilege to know Sidney Block. With sympathy, dear Britt. That was the card. This is the email. Hello, Bob. First of all, thank you for writing me. Chicago seemed like yesterday, and there were the regular Saturday visits to your wonderful gallery. And upon entering, there stood Sidney, looking up, smiling, and providing genuine gestures of welcome. Sid had such a deep intellect and good eye when it came to all things art. I cherish the time we spent together as he patiently explained and reviewed the many treasures that resided in the drawers of prints and photographs. After 14 years of residing in Geneva, Switzerland, we moved our headquarters to Dubai, which was a challenging move as we miss Europe very much. The pieces of art I've collected over the years reside in a container as we will move at some point in time to Richmond, Virginia. Catherine will actually travel to Richmond the first week in December to greet the truck and systematically unpack the boxes and put the things in their new places. For some strange reason, 2 objects did reach Dubai that were intended to go to Virginia. They were 2 of the many works I purchased from you and Sid, and every time I look at them, I think of you, Sid, and print books. I cannot make it on December 16th. I rarely get to Chicago anymore. With you in our hearts and our minds forever. The next time I'm in the Windy City, I will stop by to visit. God bless Sidney, and thank you for writing. David Crowell, Vice President, Four Seasons Hotel. And a glass of wine. Here's to Sidney and Hannah Block, the best friends anybody ever could have had. They loved all of you. I want to thank you for coming. And Bob Morgan is going to play a small piece on the oboe right now in honor of Sidney and Hannah.